Now you're in Capital for how long?
I didn't stay for very long because I joined. They gave me like an internship fee, but I was like, okay, this is an internship fee. I'm doing breakfast. What's happening? Then Cess, unfortunately, pulled a move on air. She was fired. Ngatia was brought back. I was made the anchor, which really scared me. And this is in less than a month. I'm like, no, I think we had pulled 2 months. I was like, hey, should Ngatia be the anchor since he's been here longer than me? But they said, no, we want you. And so I started anchoring with Ngatia breakfast, and then on Sunday I used to do a show called Golden Sunday, which I absolutely loved because I grew up listening to my dad's records, music from the 60s and 70s. That's really my most favorite music is 60s music. So I used to do that show and the breakfast. But then now I was like, if I'm the anchor, I've done my 3 months, perhaps maybe you should increase my salary. But that wasn't happening. So it was such a back and forth. And I decided, you know what? Imagine I can move on. See, I've already entered this world now. So ballsy, again, wrote an email to Kiss FM. I found out who the program controller was. And I said, listen, I'm soon leaving. I've been doing breakfast for the last 4 months here. And I'm looking for a spot. And they waited for about 2 days. They had the she's not on air. And they called me. Now, when they called me, I go in and they say, look, we know you've been doing breakfast. We know this is what you want. But right now, we actually need a news reader and editor. I'm like, news? What is news? What are those? But they say, listen, this is what we need right now. Your voice is good for it. You learn on the way. And I'm like, I left this politics thing, this whole serious thing in campus. But I got back to my siblings and they were like, listen, it's a foot in the door of the biggest station. Go there, fight for a show. And that's what I did. I did news alongside Carol Rado. She was my boss. The shift was crazy. You needed to be at work at 4 a.m. if you're doing the morning shift because back then, internet was not doing what it does now. So if you wanted to get updates on sports, which I knew nothing of, you would have to get it from recording the BBC news at that odd hour in time for the 6 o'clock news. You know what I mean? Yes. So I did that, but I kept pushing and saying, listen, please give me a show. Please give me a show. That's really what I wanted. And they then gave me a Saturday show. And they say, here you go, Saturday show. You and Shaffie Weru and Roy Karuiz. I'm like, Lord, you couldn't have given me the more unserious people. Do these people know I'm fighting for my career here? I'm fighting to get a primetime show. But now I'm working with guys who, first of all, it's a Saturday show, okay? Starts at noon, meaning that you should be at work at least by 11. Those guys would stroll in at 12:30. I'm just like, Lord. And they are hanged. And they have prepared nothing. And I'm just feeling frustrated. And so we did that for about 8 months. Frustration. I do my week. I do this thing on the weekend. And then I remember most of the radio presenters were poached by Citizen at that time to start Hot 96. And so when they left, now, of course, there has to be a reshuffle at the station. So I get a call. I remember I've come off now. I was doing an evening shift for news. So you'd check in at 11 in the morning and come out at 8 at night. So I've just been dropped home. And then Caroline calls and says, look, there's an opportunity for you to do the afternoon show. It's a primetime show. And you're going to do it with Shaffie. I'm like, oh, come on. I want the show, but come on. But yeah, so we went and that's how we created the Rush Hour. Yeah. So we created a fresh show. We came up with concepts together with, the team at the office. And that's how my journey began on Kiss now being on a primetime show. Did that for 8 years with Shaffie. What started out as our career as being these awesome presenters was actually us really hating each other. You know, the way we would tag team and hate each other. He started calling me Big Mama on the weekend show, Keeping It Kenyan. And then he brings it to this side, and we were fighting because he thought I was too serious and I had a system.
So there was actual tension?
Yeah, it was real. It was real for a year. Like, real. We did not like each other. I didn't even want to save his phone number. Why? Why am I saving his phone number? This unserious Kenyan. Yeah. Then he's like, this chick is just too serious. Like, can you just calm down, relax? And I'm thinking, man, this is a big job. It has a lot of responsibility. If I am the anchor, that means I have a lot of responsibility. I can't just, operate anyhowly. And so because of that, there was tension. Okay. There was tension. And a year in, we kind of figured out, people actually enjoy this tension. So if they enjoy this tension, then how about we make it our thing and make it what makes our show? And that's what we did. And that worked for us for that time. Then we moved to breakfast. By the time we were getting on breakfast, I'd already started asking myself, do I really want to continue being employed on permanent basis in this environment? I mean, I know you've worked in the media. The media can be a bit, and it had been 10 years. I was turning 40, so I had questions. What's next? Where are we going? And so we agreed, and it was time for me to leave. I left. And yeah, so that's my radio career.
So that's your radio journey.
Yeah.
But then you had this transition to TV. Was it
Yes.
an interest that you had during that tenure?
Yes.
At radio?
Actually, during that 10 years, I, as a person being, I got onto this radio thing when I was much more mature. I was in my late 20s when I got on. I think I in the middle of it all, I didn't want to be seen by other people. I was there at a time where Pulse had just started, the magazine, and that was our first connection with having all these blogging type of guys who are writing all sorts of things about your personal life. And so for a long time, people didn't know what I looked like. I'd remained a very private person for a very long time, and I'd done it well. So now, in between of all that, I think it was about, when was it? It was 2013, 2014, if I think, around that time. One of my pals who runs a media house, production house rather, 626 production, calls me and says, listen, I have a show that we are partnering with K24, and you are the person. I know you are the chick who will execute it because it's about talking to couples, the couples show. And so in between radio, I had already done that show called The Couple Show, which surprisingly to date, it's 2020, people still ask me, Couple Show, kwa nini haujarudisha? We wish, but we will, in Jesus' name, one day. But so I had done that show, and it was successful. And so doing that had given me a taste of what TV can be like. So I had to ask myself, okay, when you leave radio, what's the next place that would make sense for you to grow yourself? Now, I'm thinking in terms of, I love how Oprah has grown herself. I love the way Ellen's grown herself. I want to have a TV show that has my name. But in the meantime, I need to be trained properly, because the way we had done the couples show, I had a producer who would do everything. So mine was to get my script. These are your guests. This is the research on them. But I never had to do that. So I had in my head thought about it, but I didn't know how to go about it. So when I left, I began using my skills as a PR kind of person. So I was doing PR consultancy. I worked with Kericho Gold and a couple of other companies. And 6 months later, I remember, because I left KISS July, the first week of July 4th. And the first week of December, I get a call from K24, and they say, if you have time, because we know you've left and you're saying you're doing other things and we can see what you're doing, if you have time, would you be willing to come and do this show? you would be contracted just for the show. And we negotiated and said it should not take more than a day out of my time. So half a day to prep the day before, and then half a day to shoot, and we're done. And that's what happened, and it worked. And so they wanted a revamp of that show, Talk Central. It had already existed, and now the revamp worked. They needed a female host. I was the host, and just learning new things, because whereas before I didn't have to depend on reading a teleprompter, and I had to learn. Oh my God, that was like what? Learn how to read. So we took most of December. We didn't do holiday really. We just took the days of 25th, 26th, and the 1st. But we really worked on me being able to be ready to launch this thing in January. When we launched, it worked. And so I discovered that I also have a very good skill of being able to interview people, getting them to tell me a lot about themselves, and making them feel that they can trust me and open up. And did the show for 2 years. Then the contract ended, and they decided, okay, we are revamping our station. We're not sure if this is the way we're going to go. I said, fine. Anyway, I feel like after 2 years, doing interviews on persons of interest and celebrities, wawisha in Kenya.
Yeah.
And there are certain brands that maybe the station will not want to bring on air. So, in my opinion, walikuwa wameisha. So that was done. So that's when I was like, you know what, you really need to take what you've learned and do your own thing. Invest in your own equipment, start learning how it works, start filming your own content, and push that. And that's what I've been doing. Nice. So I actually left the show on K24, it was April in last year, 2019. And I started working on my own thing. So just as I'm getting my feet, now organized, it's COVID.
Yeah.
But God is good, we're alive.